the 24/7 Flat Earth Discord channel. Be sure to go to VC Check and 1 to get your VC verification tags to get involved in the conversation about our Earth. Be sure to bring your verifiable Earth curvature evidence, though.
Enemy spotted.
leonbag.
VC flat smacking these unbelievers in Christian chat. The typical condescending, belligerent, unloving, anti-theist, anti-flat earther.
Well, forget about the anti-theist thing, but their Bible supported the flat Earth until a few hundred years ago. I guess they had to adapt it. They used to burn people. I guess you had the same argument. They used to burn people that said the Earth was round. Now, burn them at the stake. Was it Galileo? That was the first burnt victim. Globe agenda or whatever.
You know, when you watch this particular documentary, the common narrative, I'm going to post it in just a moment. The common narrative is that the Romanist clerics burned Galileo because he was teaching that the earth is, that the earth is revolving, right? And and that's why the celestial bodies seem to be moving. But then you watch this particular documentary, I'm going to post a link to in a moment. He wasn't actually officially indicted for any heresy, but the suspicion of heresy. They just suspect him.
In fact, Galileo wasn't actually burned at the stake. I mean, he was asked to abjurate, and actually,
what's abjurate? What's abjuration? What's that?
It's to you renounce a particular belief of yours.
Yeah, okay. You renounce your.
I guess they just wanted to make an example out of him.
Yeah, but the position. I mean, Galileo at the time. I remember when I was studying history, and I was with my university professor of history, and he was saying at the time Galileo actually acted unscientifically. In the sense that he was the one claiming with absolute certainty his belief, and the church, since they didn't actually undermine the science by itself, they just wanted to make sure that any kind of hypothesis made by scientists didn't went over ecclesiastical belief, like the dogma. They were saying, okay, you can make calculation whatever you want, but you cannot state with certainty that what is in the Bible has been refuted through your arguments. You have to say, yes, that's my calculation, the model works, but obviously the Bible is written differently, and so obviously the Bible is right. That was the quarrel with the church, and Galileo asked the bishop to come and look from the telescope and look at the I think it was Venus and Mars, and he was saying, look, these are the proof that they're also moving. I don't actually remember what was the thing. The bishop actually was okay, yeah, whatever. I mean, you're right, but you can't say then the Bible is wrong. That's the point. Even if your calculus work, even if the calculation work, you cannot say that the Bible is wrong. And Galileo was saying that because he was asking to change what was written in the Bible, and they obviously said, of course we want, and now you have to abjurate.
I'm gonna link you a picture of since you just mentioned the word Venus, and the orbit of Venus is extremely crazy. It makes a perfect mandala from our point of view. It's extremely nuts. and it doesn't make sense if we're just spinning and spinning around other things that are spinning around other things. It's just also stars and things. But yeah, thanks for the historical. And I learned a few words actually. I didn't know the word aberration, so I wrote it down. I write the words I
Yeah,
don't know
there are
so I
two.
can use them.
I always say that you have two ways to learn the word aberration. One is if you study Galileo, and the other one if you play Dungeons and Dragons.
I'm playing Baldur's Gate, bro. It's amazing. I never played D&D ever, but I want to. The most difficult part is to get people together physically. But I love the Baldur's Gate 3, man. It's awesome.
Yeah,
Simon, did you see the video I linked you in the voice chat, the text chat?
heliosorcery.
I'm gonna check it out, Gregory.
Mm-hmm. It mentions what we just discussed briefly and much more.
Okay, I'm playing right now. It says it's unavailable, but maybe I can watch it on YouTube.
Eli, can
Yeah,
you
I'm playing
talk or are you
Baldur's
just
Gate 3
listening?
as well. Baldur's Gate 3 is
A little bit.
Hello.
What's up? What's up?
I love Baldur's Gate. I'm going to play it later
Got
tonight.
about 30 minutes or so
Hey,
before
we
I
should make another a text chat just for Baldur's Gate, and we can make a campaign together or
Yes.
something.
Yeah, I'm in.
Lunatic,
I'm
it's a
in. Whatever.
woman here. Precious being. Hey.
Wait, what? Sorry, I didn't
Oh,
hear you.
you're new to the server too, huh?
Yes, absolutely.
Welcome.
Thank you. I
I
actually,
like I like the I like the name.
I appreciate it. Yeah, it's a play on words for me.
Yeah.
Oh, it's documentary. This one, the
Um,
heliosorcery.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Sorry,
Is it
but
long?
right now I don't have. It's an hour and 42 minutes. I don't have that much time right now. I'm sorry, but I swear I'm gonna look at it.
Well, of course, you don't have to look
Yeah.
at it in one sitting. You don't have to look at it immediately now. Look at it, preferably all
Yeah,
of
yeah.
it, but at your convenience. Yeah.
I just saved
I,
it, and I will look at it
I'll
tomorrow.
check it
Then.
Yeah.
out, Gregory.
Yeah.
Leon, check out the last picture I sent you. That's the Venus orbit around the Earth. There's different versions of it.
Did you guys hear Lunatic trying to speak?
oh, oh,
Yes, Luna, welcome again. Where do you stand on the debate?
I'm in the middle. I'm still learning about
On the
both.
fence?
I'm on the fence. Yeah, I think that there's a possibility that we are on a flat Earth, but there is a possibility that we're not. So I'm open to discussion of debate. However, I am here for Big Root. I don't know if he's on right now.
You're here for some big root, somebody in specific
Yes,
here on the
Can,
channel?
yes.
can I ask a question? That's understandable. Sometimes I tell I meet people places and they say, well, let me know when you're in there because I'd like to have a conversation with you. So if that's your prerogative, then that's cool. I don't know if it is or isn't, but you know.
Big root's here.
I guess he's probably AFK. I had a couple questions about because I'm about organic living and I can't say too much on the live stream, but I believe in making and growing your own food and being a medicinal healer for myself and stuff like that. So
Yo, you
Oh,
should add me
yeah,
because
that
we could
might
go
be
off
like
topic and they're gonna punish us. But I like that topic too.
yo, bro, chill out. Um, yeah, but
Okay.
it's not like you'll be punished. Here's the thing. This is a live stream, and it's definitely my dream for the live stream to be used for its purpose, which is for when newcomers enter. We kind of keep it on topic. Topic being, the nature of our world and the geometry thereof or lack thereof.
Oh, I
But
get it. I was
everyone's
kidding
more
about the
than
punishment part.
if only she could respond after I finish talking. If you can let the mic breathe a little bit, is that fair? Am I being an a hole for asking
No,
a
I'll
little
shut
bit
up,
of?
man. You're totally
not saying shut up. I'm just saying, can I just have the mic when I have it? That's all.
Yes, excuse me
So
for interrupting.
thank you. So yeah, but there are a ton of other rooms, and we hope to fill these rooms as well, as we have more newcomers enter our Discord server. So the conversation like the one seems you want to have, you and Root could potentially go down like to chill chat or something like that. I'm sure a lot of people will follow because it sounds like it would be an interesting conversation. But you're not you're not censored in any kind of way here. It's just the live stream is typically meant for those wanting to hear about this subject. Typically, anyway, we that's our hope. So just
Absolutely.
letting you know the expectation of the service.
Thank you very much for explaining that to me. I've joined off of Beast. I'm sure you've met him already. Basically, he's a really good friend of mine, and I think the community here is fantastic because you guys are very open minded, and we're able to have a debate, an intellectual debate without much problem. And I appreciate that you guys are respectful and you listen. So thank you for that. I'll just DM Big Root personally because I'm curious about his perspective on some stuff. But I'll definitely be back in here to talk about, the state of the world and how it works and stuff like that. Thank you guys.
All right, you're welcome. You guys continue.
Eli, I was telling them earlier how I was flat smacking these anti-theist, anti-flat earthers in Christian Chat VC in politics server.
Oh,
Of course, they
politics
won't.
over. Yeah, I haven't been in there in a minute. I wish I was
Yeah,
around for that.
yeah. There was a couple other fellow disciples and flat earthers in there also. Helping me, co-signing me, and refuting these anti-flat earthers. And of course, they made the classic condescending mockery, number one, and then any sort of
Oh, I've
substantive
had a
argument
lot of
they
that
tried to go
lately.
to.
Yeah.
Mm. They tried to appeal to the clip, and they just 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 went into a frenzy after that. Um, directing our eyes to the celestial bodies rather than looking down at the earth. Right, try to appeal to ships disappearing from our perspective when it goes far enough away. Perspective on the oceans, of course, you already know about that. So it was kind of the classic things. It's almost like they ran out of. It's almost like there is no other things for them to appeal to. We just exhausted all their appeals.
Hmm.
We have
Yeah.
photos. No, you don't, according to NASA. And you're presupposing this cosmic paradigm, neglecting that you cannot neglect the historical doctrine that has been attached to this cosmological paradigm, right? So I'm going to address the whole origin of this cosmic paradigm that goes back centuries, right? You can't just take that for granted. Because if you
Yeah.
just want to focus your eye on the 1960s, then you're effectively implying that you didn't really know the Earth was a sphere until the 1960s.
I see what you're saying. Yeah. Usually, like when I'm in places that are like baller central, um, I kind of try to get them curious as to my position, which means I kind of have to ignore their positions. Um, Maybe not ignore, but it's like, yeah, I was a Glober. I get it. Yeah, yeah, I was a Glober. I kind of know that. Yeah, I know that you think that. I used to think that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So instead of arguing with them about those things that we all know, eventually they get to a point of, well, what do you think? Glad you asked. It only took
Yeah.
2 hours. you know.
In fact, I didn't go out of my way to mention the cosmology issue, the cosmology controversy, as I call it. Someone else, a fellow disciple, mentioned it to me, asking me about, you know, what is my metaphysic? This is my own words, just rephrasing him. What is my metaphysic about the heavens? Right? It's a concretely real area of the cosmos at basic, right? Let
Hmm.
alone any other figurative usage of the term. Okay, so there's that. And then I posted the image from Logos Bible Software that are professing believers, which believe the globe paradigm. but they still acknowledge that the Holy Scriptures teaches the flat, stationary, non-rotating plane under the firmament, under the cosmic waters, in the presence of the God. I mean, so there you have it. So even professing believers who don't believe the cosmological paradigm that the Scripture teaches are acknowledging this is what it teaches, but I'm being more consistent than that, and so I affirm that it is true, and that's also what we empirically detect, especially at least as it concerns the topographical features of the Earth being a level plane. And so
Hmm.
then after that was mentioned, you know, the other unbelievers in there that, the fundamentalist scientists, as I call them, they just they started off. The hilarity of this is that they started off sounding calm, right, with that pretense that they actually care about truth, right, and then as the conversation continues on, they just reveal who they truly are. The condescending belligerence and hostility, and the funding muting, trying to suppress my voice with theirs. So I talked about that, went through several different points. Especially as it concerns the anecdotes we all have. Should we be in the proper position? The anecdotes we all have when we stand our feet on the earth and make the observations concerning the earth, not directing our eyes to the red herring of the celestial bodies.
Yeah. Hmm. Yeah. I guess I was talking today about the scientific method or the epistemology behind it and the construction of a hypothesis and how those fundamentals don't line up with your modern scientists today, where instead of, as a matter of fact, where's my Facebook? This guy was trying to tell me that sometimes it's hard to observe the phenomena. And let me go to the let me go what first of all, I forget what the post was about, but he responds to, I guess I have to say my comment, right? So somebody says, how come there are no pictures of any ends of the earth? How come nobody has ever spoken out about traveling from one end of the earth to the other? If everyone on here is so sure that the earth is flat, why not travel to one end, take a picture, prove it? Um, Yada yada yada, blase blase. So I said, because you can't. Why was I so short? Is because that's true. Um, if we could, we would have. It's not like there are any buses or any boats going that way. You know what I'm saying? So, um, obviously, let me not be as ambiguous as that, but you can look up the Antarctic Treaty and see why it's not pretty much not allowed for any citizen or common man to go beyond 60 degrees south of the equator unless you're in this very specific place, 1 to 3 points that you're allowed to go, one of them being somewhere uh in the region they call Antarctica. So a guy by the name of Richard Bruce responds, it's usually difficult to document observations of phenomenon and things which do not exist. So there's that. And I said, like the downward acceleration of gas particles, right? And he says, and sometimes it's difficult to document phenomena which do exist as well. And I said, well, Richard, by the way, an extremity is not a phenomenon. Difficult and not scientifically valid are two different things, but I hear you. So he says, I'm sorry, extremity is not in my OED. Now, he said that because I spelled extremity wrong, EXTRI instead of EXTRE. Okay, fair enough. And he says, I was being a smartass. And my first comment, I should have said, it's impossible to document uh, observations. What did I say? Uh, it's impossible to document observations which do not exist. I agree with you that some phenomena which do exist are extremely difficult to observe. So I responded, extremity, rolls eyes. I corrected myself. And then I said, a location is not a phenomenon. Secondly, observing a natural phenomenon is what sets off the inquiring mind. The correct IV may be IV being independent variable, aka the cause to the effect or thing that you're studying or seeing in nature, may be extremely difficult to suppose for a natural phenomenon. So let me read that again. The correct cause of the phenomenon may be extremely difficult to suppose for a natural phenomenon, but saying a naturally occurring phenomenon is hard to observe doesn't make sense. Either you observe an effect or you do not. If you do not, there's nothing to inquire. If you're begging the question, then I can understand looking for a hard to find effect of a presupposed cause, which isn't the logic and proper hypotheses construction, since the point of it is to suppose the cause of an effect and then test it, not presume a cause without testing. So it seems like they always want to, work backwards and kind of already have a presupposition and then attach and affirming the consequence of that by looking
Always
at
want to take
some
the
sort
position for
of,
granted. Exactly.
maybe they have a phenomenon like, most of the time these astrophysicists have like something that they're looking at in the sky, or maybe you have some sort of device that you then find some sort of man-made phenomenon in that and then attribute that to the presupposed cause rather than proving the cause in the first instance, which is pseudoscience rather than the proper use of uh, hypotheses and testing it.
Now, you'd rather hear it from me rather than, the anti-flat earther. When you said a location is not a phenomenon, of course, I think you mean a location is not an event, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Because a phenomenon is just the item of
Something happening.
experience.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he's like, so it's like it was a complete non sequitur to begin with. Him saying the end of the earth would be, I guess it would be an event for someone who didn't believe the earth was flat.
Right.
I
This
don't
this
know.
is the event of experiencing, empirically detecting the extremities of the earth upon the topographical level plane thereof would be a very significant event in their lives. Yeah, of
Yeah.
course.
Yep. Yep.
In fact, on in tandem with that, this one guy, his username is Trick. But his username is Trick, and he has, by the way, a Joker, PFP. Anyway, minor premise. Um, he's appealing to the supposed successful predictions that the model makes. Right. Again, the logic sequence. So the model is that you live on a ball, surrounded by water, surrounded by gas, flying around in a cosmic vacuum full of other humongous balls of solid, liquid, and gas. Okay. And that the moon, supposedly a humongous ball of rock, is obscuring the light on a particular fraction of the surface of the earth that is facing the sun, while the sun emits that light, and the sun supposedly is a humongous ball of gas. Orders of magnitude greater in size, greater than the earth and the moon. Okay. All right. That's the whole model. And he's trying to act as though, and he doesn't even realize it, he's trying to act as though that is necessary to predict eclipses happening in a predictable law-like fashion. It is not. He just didn't. He just refused. Either he was unable in spite of efforts, or he just refused to grasp that. It's probably both. You say this is. I mean, this is why logic is so important. In his argument, he thought he was making such a strong inductive argument. We have this model, and we predict this event with this model, and it happens. Why don't you accept it, you freaking moron? Because the underlying presuppositions are not necessary for that event to happen. That's why. That is not. It's not necessarily indicative. It's not even strongly indicative that when the solar eclipse happens, or when any kind of eclipse happens, that it's indicative that this is happening above the surface of a sphere that we supposedly live and walk upon. Of course, also continuing to pretend as though that they've actually seen these humongous balls of solid, liquid, or gas like they believe they are, rather than just being honest with the prima facie, on its face appearance with our experience of looking at the celestial bodies. You see lights up there in the sky. You see the blackness of the air above you at night with these dots of light, peppered with these dots of light. You're not actually seeing a humongous ball of gas or rock. You should have heard this one user, Scott Mackey. I don't know if you recognize the username. So of course he thinks his position is just so rock solid, and we eventually wandered to the subject about the moon. And I'm being honest about my position. I do not know the uh, physical particulars and all the mechanistic relationships for how everything elapses, right? For how everything functions. I couldn't explain that to you. I'm not the god, and neither are you. And so he is condescendingly belittling me for not accepting the physical mechanistic doctrine about what causes the sun to emit light. And then when I ask him, how do you know the moon is emitting the light from the sun or a fraction thereof? Because we see it, he said. Oh, okay. So when I say that exact same premise to support my premise, that's invalid. But when you say the exact same thing, that is valid and sound. Okay, I see how that works. And repeatedly, over and over again, repeatedly over and over again, saying he doesn't know, he doesn't understand, doesn't want to understand, doesn't know the math, doesn't know the doctrine, doesn't know. Of course, they have this intellectual allergy against the word doctrine. All right, because doctrine is only something that theists do. The doctrine is only something that those who don't believe the fundamentalist scientism religion worldview, that only those who don't believe the fundamentalist scientism give doctrine. No. A bit of a side note. This one guy made a very excellent point. If the I'm just use this one. If the Pope professes that he's an atheist now, he cannot hold his position as Pope no longer. He'll be excommunicated, right? Or especially a subordinate cleric, one of the cardinals, one of the bishops. Isn't that the same thing with the atheist institutions, communities? Can you remain the head of the atheist alliance if you become a Christian? No, they kick you out. They have required doctrines, required dogmas, just like everyone else. They're no different. They have a worldview over against the worldviews that they don't believe. Doctrines, dogmas, sacred cows, whatever you want to call them. Rather, call them what they are. Just the same. Their theory of reality, their theory of knowledge, their theory of logic, how you ought to think, their theory of how you ought to behave, also and especially. Same thing. These fundamentalist scientists.
I mean, there is a lot of variety in these things among both scientists and atheists, and it's not in a single behavior that everybody upholds.
Say again? I missed it.
As I'm saying, among atheists, we have much variety. I mean, in how you should behave and stuff. I mean, I'm an atheist, and I don't know atheists that have a completely different worldview than mine. The only thing that we share is our unbelief in a deity.
True. Just like every other category of worldview of ideology. There are subcategories within the category of atheism, within the category of fundamentalist scientism.
Yeah.
Have you already talked about cosmology in here today?
Not that much.
I see you have the globe earther role. So you believe the Earth is a ball flying around in a cosmic vacuum? Yes.
Yeah, I would say that I believe that.
Why?
Uh, because uh, because as I already said, I believe that. I mean, I haven't made an observation, no studies, no anything on that part, for the simple reason that it's not my particular field of research, and I quite simply upholds the hypotheses and the models that specialists in the field of physics upholds. And since the vast majorities in that field use that model to make calculation that and that works and gave us other types of technology, for example. I mean, I am convinced
What model?
the
What model?
heliocentric model and all those all those uh, the theory by which we also study stuff like astrophysics and then orbital mechanics and stuff like that. Then if the question is, have you observed like the curve or do you feel movement? All I can say is absolutely no, I haven't.
Let me ask you this.
Go on.
Do you care about persevering to knowledge of the truth concerning this?
Do I care persevering? I'm a researcher. I wouldn't say that I care of what's the verb that I use? Sorry.
Yeah, do you care to persevere to seek knowledge about this?
Yes, I'm quite curious about seeking knowledge. Not necessarily. I don't feel a spasmodic need to research this particular topic. Also, because if I'm living on a flat Earth or a spinning ball, I wouldn't really care in the sense that it wouldn't change my day to day that much.
Really?
Why did you come into this voice channel?
I'm quite interested in debates mechanics. I'm really interested in rhetorics and also in logic and stuff. And also, again, I'm a researcher, so sometimes I just enjoy being like listened to or also being part of a debate. But usually, I tend to prepare if involved in that in a real debate.
Can I ask you, if Earth is not a sphere, that doesn't change anything?
I guess that I would, like every day, I would go to the university. I would do my research. I would speak with the
Really?
same people. I would.
You think
Yeah.
that you will have you think that you will have university after that?
Well, I don't really think that my particular field would be suffering that much since I
Yeah.
work in
What
Why
linguistics.
about
did
But
you
school?
not done
What
that
about school?
with the
What about
globe?
schools?
what about schools?
Yeah.
Well,
Saw to let the other person breathe.
if the Earth is proved to be a flat plane, well, I guess the curricula will change and
Okay.
start
But is
teaching that.
but it is not changing. It's still there.
I don't think that people have proved that the Earth is a flat plane yet.
Oh, you don't think so?
They haven't proved it's
No,
a globe either.
There is no proof for the globe. Yeah.
uh, uh, that's not the opinion of the majority
It's
of
not
scientists, I
opinion.
would say.
Do you know what is science or scientist?
Yes, I do science. I mean, I do soft science. It's not physics or chemistry or biology, but I uphold the scientific method in linguistics.
You cannot use scientific method in linguistics.
Yes, of course you can.
No, you cannot.
What can I say? Let's agree to disagree.
Okay, let's give me one example.
I wrote an experiment that we actually did, and that is something that is used typically in sociolinguistics early on in one of the chats. I can't remember which one. It is an experiment about how language is an influence in the kind of interactions that people have in different speech communities. I can explain that. I can try to explain that. But first, I would need to explain what's the difference between a soft science and a hard science. The first one is something that has to do with causality. The second one is something that generally involves correlations and not causal connections, because of the amounts of variables that's not possible to isolate or to.
That's a start to study.
And you said that correlation is a science.
I didn't say that correlation is a science. I said that in soft sciences it is because the systems studied are so complex and difficult, and it's impossible, factually impossible to isolate. It is impossible to find causal links, and so it is necessary. It is
Not a
necessary.
science.
That means
Yes,
it's not
it
a
is
science.
science. The scientific method is the same, just the result. One
What's
has to be
the
humble. One has
what's
to be
the
humble and recognize
what's
that
the
you cannot
independent
achieve
variable?
the same level of precision that in hard sciences.
What's causing
What's the
something what
sorry,
did you say? Sociology?
There's too much
Sociolinguistics.
verbal dispute right now. This is getting annoying. It's too much verbal dispute. We're not being specific enough. What are you talking about right now?
Right
He's a
now,
linguist, so
I was
He's talking
talking
about
about
soft science, which includes psychology, sociology, anthropology, and political science.
souls.
Okay, so why are we talking about this?
I believe that I was questioned about it.
That he
Okay,
still
let's go
holds the
back
belief.
to
He still holds the belief of the globe, even though he's on soft science.
okay, let's go back to the surface of the Earth. Right, that's the namesake of the server. That's the primary subject of the VC. Wink, wink to everyone who wanted to say that to me in the past. Anyway, right, you believe the Earth is a ball. Why?
As I answered before, I believe in it because I trust the scientific community, and that's pretty much what I can say. Apart from since I cannot boast any observation by my part.
Okay, listen. At least when you're talking to me, I'm going to be charitable, and I'm going to give you space to breathe, right, and let you finish your answers, so you don't have to worry with me. Okay.
Mhm.
So there's that. So you don't really have, an argument. You just trust what the university graduate professionals have taught us, correct?
Well, I would say so. Yes, for the sake of
It's
not
okay. Don't be
being.
reluctant. We don't have an argument for everything. You know.
No. I think that the first arguments for the shape of the Earth predates university. So, but yes, right now in
Good point.
the contemporary era, I would say that I trust the university professors and the physicists and the researcher, academia in general.
Why do you
Are they
trust
real?
them?
Well, I'm part of that community first, although on not on the discipline, and that's it. I mean, it's the trust in the process of academia, also checking one another, and I believe if within that community there were evidence of a flat Earth, somebody would have produced academic literature enough to prove that.
Let me ask you this.
Can
I'm
I
So
ask one
you are
question?
acknowledging that you're a member of academia, and so
uh,
you also
I'm a PhD,
trust that
I'm a
they know what
PhD
they're talking
student.
about.
Can I ask?
Yeah.
Can I
You're a
ask what
student,
his
okay? Yeah.
previous? What was his previous? What was your previous statement?
What
What you just said.
about academia checking itself? And was that
Yeah.
one?
Like what?
Yeah.
What was the overall premise to that?
That I am part of the academia, and then I knowing the process of academic review, I trust that if among that community, within that community, if there were evidence for the flat Earth, there would have been enough literature produced proving it.
But that's not what they're. I mean, that's. I don't remember that being a part of the curriculum. I don't remember that being an inquiry. Um, I think that they actually take the current cosmology as read, and then they debate about how things work within that paradigm. Am I incorrect about that?
And I think that right now the model, that heliocentric model, and all the
Yeah, it's taken
consequences
for
of that
granted, right? It's
model,
not like they're sitting around questioning that. There aren't classes that are like, you know,
I
are
think
going
that it's
against
given.
that.
It's,
It's
yeah, I
mostly.
think it's given for granted because everything turns up working in that model.
Well, that's what happens in a reification or a mathematical model. You can have things that cooperate with each other in a mathematical model if you take everything for granted, but it's not actually proof for what you believe, right?
But that is not simply mathematical. The model
Well, that's what we would assume.
have
That's what I'm
the model
saying.
has
It's taken for granted.
that
Yeah.
predictive power on the observation that we do daily.
Well, I would push back on that because it's not that it has predictive power, because it has postdictive power. Seeing is that they're taking observations over a course of time. So it's not like they're discovering things after the fact. They're trying to figure out what phenomena is happening when and why.
And I'm having trouble understanding exactly what you're saying. Sorry.
Well, you tell me what you mean by predictive power. What exactly?
It
Um,
means that as I understand it, I mean, we have model in linguistics, so I will, and since the method that we use, the methodology we use is the same, I will explain
whittle it
how
down
I
to the
understand the model to work.
geometry. Whittle it down to the geometry of the Earth. Give me a prediction that you're like an example of your prediction within the geometry of the presupposed globe.
As I told you, I don't have is not my field. I'm not able to use the heliocentric model, which I've not studied,
I
to
didn't ask about the
give you a prediction.
heliocentric model. That's an
Well,
entirely.
well, the shape of the Earth is presupposed in the heliocentric model, but
No, it's not. The shape of the Earth doesn't have anything to do with heliocentrism and the movement of the Earth. These can be these aren't they can be mutually exclusive.
They don't mutually necessitate one another. Yeah.
okay.
So when I ask you for a prediction about the
Is there
geometry,
gravity in the heliocentric model?
excuse me,
Is gravity part of the heliocentric model?
again, that would be pretty much a red herring because I asked you for a prediction about
But
the geometry of.
I'm just trying to explain why I believe that the heliocentric model presupposed the globe Earth.
Well, that's not what I'm asking. I mean, if you don't want to answer what I'm
Oh, no,
asking,
I can. No,
then
no, I
you
can
can
explain
just.
to you.
Well, excuse me.
I can.
Excuse me. I don't want to be cut off in the middle of what I'm telling you I'm requiring from you. Now, when I'm done, you can tell me you don't want to address it, and I'll have to leave you alone. That's respectable, but don't give me things I'm not asking for. Does that make sense?
It does. Go on.
Okay. So I'm asking for a prediction
Mhm.
about the geometry of the globe specifically. I'm not asking about the movements of the planetary bodies or anything related to that specifically. I'm talking about just the Earth. Now, you brought up gravity. I guess that would have to do with the geometry of the globe because it would have to be the specific size that they claim for the gravity to be correct, which would mean that we would have to have some sort of model. And this is the prediction I'm asking for, right? And a
Mhm.
prediction that isn't a presupposition, meaning, well, we presume that the earth is this size because that's what's in contention. Therefore, this is how mathematically the gravity works out given that size. Because if it was any other size, we could have just tailored the math to any size it was. So, without the presuppositions of the size, I would like to know the prediction of the geometry of the earth itself. Does that make sense? If you can't tell me because
You
this is
can
not
you
your
can ask.
area of
No, no.
study, that's fine.
You can. That I already said, I guess, a couple of times. I'm not able to give you any prediction because
Oh,
I
okay,
would
because
be
it sounded
lying if
like you were saying that you believed in the predictions, but when it comes to the earth itself, I guess you don't really know. And that's fine.
I again.
I know it's
I
hard to accept,
swear,
but you know,
no. I swear, I'm not trying to be any kind of difficult, but it just I really love being precise in what I say, and since my words exactly was that I believe I trust in the work of the specialist.
I know,
I
but
wouldn't
that's
say that
like
I trust in the
that's
predictions
totally
because I
I
don't
know, but that's
I
totally not
don't know.
related to the claim about the geometry of the earth. And that's why I said it's fine. Um, most people, before they think about the earth itself, they have this religion about, you know, the cosmos, and I'm not here to deal with that. So it's fine. That's why I was very particular about the words that I use. And you already told me that you're not equipped to have that conversation, so I don't want to put you in an uncomfortable situation.
Well, it wouldn't be uncomfortable. It's simply that I'm sorry to say that I wouldn't be able to give you answers.
Yeah, I know.
But in which
So the point we're getting at, because I'm sure you
can I?
already have enough sense to realize that this the flat earthers in this room are going to scrutinize, right, this cosmic paradigm, right? So
Sorry,
after we
what
ask
what
you,
were they?
we just asked you a few questions. Listen.
Yeah,
We asked you a few
I
questions,
didn't catch a
and you
word. I'm
already
sorry. It was that.
you didn't hear a word you said.
Yeah, you said
Oh, let me say it again.
a
You
particular
already
paradigm.
know.
You said a particular paradigm. I didn't catch the name of the paradigm. I'm sorry.
You know that we are in here scrutinizing the paradigm, right? The
Okay. Yeah.
cosmological paradigm that we've been taught all our
Yeah.
lives. You know, the
Yeah.
average age in here, you know, being 30 some years old, right? At some are 60, some are younger at most, you know. So all our lives we've been taught this particular cosmological paradigm that we live on a humongous ball surrounded by water, surrounded by gas, flying around in a cosmic vacuum full of a bunch of other humongous balls of solid liquid or gas. We're scrutinizing that. We're scrutinizing your position as you affirm it to see if you have sufficient justification to believe that doctrine is true. And you already went out of your way to tell us, you know, that you don't really have an argument. You don't really have a whole bunch of specific objective premises in an argument to prove your belief is true. You just believe what those other experts over there who went to school to specialize in this area of knowledge supposedly may or may not know.
Yeah. Supposedly, yes.
Okay, so there's nothing more to say about your position, but you do affirm that they know. Now, why do you
Yeah.
believe that they know so much and know so well?
Because they spend their lives studying this stuff.
And
Well, you can spend your
can
life studying falsehood.
Yes, absolutely. But then somebody hopefully proves me wrong.
Okay. Well, of course, but that's not a sufficient reason to believe that they do know. Just because that they have been studying this area of knowledge, doing these methods of inquiry for at most their entire life, is not indicative that they truly know what they believe and teach.
Well, hopefully they believe what they teach. I mean, I hope they are not that evil to teach something that they do not believe. Uh, I wouldn't do that, at least. But
They're just
yes,
wrong. What if they're not malicious about it? They're just wrong. They don't know that they're teaching something that's wrong. It's not evil.
okay. About that, like for example, this kind of conversation is exactly what I like the most, because this is something that I can understand. It's, you know, that kind of logical arguments that even if they're not ultimate when it comes to the shape of the Earth, and I absolutely recognize that. But that is kind of human behavior in which I am interested. So if
Yeah,
one
but
of these
there's
supposed
no
questions,
there's no information to input there because again, like I said, when I
okay,
asked you initially about what they take for granted, it's not like they're questioning or challenging the current paradigm they are in from the point of or specifically how the universe came about, what are the constituent parts of the universe, these fundamental assumptions, I would say, being gravity and gravitational accretion and all of this, that, and the third. Those things aren't really even touching what the earth could be. Therefore, it's not like somebody in academia would be having a class about how the earth was flat or not. So, there's not really anything to discuss there because they don't really have a real sense of curiosity. We already know that because when we read a lot of late great uh, physicists work, like Wolfgang. I can't even think of many others off the top of my head right now, but I can get a lot of citations for you where they say they dare not question the current paradigm of academia. So I already know this is the case. So there's really nothing to talk about. I'm not saying that we cannot talk about it. I'm saying there's no substance there to talk about because majority of what these people in academia believe is already taken for granted.
yeah. But my question would be, why is taken for granted?
What do you mean?
That's
That's
our
the
question too.
you're in school, you would know,
Yes,
or
I
you
mean,
have a degree, you
yeah,
would know, right?
I,
That's
I
not really a hard. That's not a hard
my
knocker, is it?
no, I mean, the reason why it's given for granted for me is because it's been studied and ascertained so much that nobody questioned
Yeah,
it in even
right,
in
but
the
Can I?
academy.
that's taken for granted. What you're saying right now is taken for
Yeah,
granted. I don't really care how many years or how many centuries it's been taken for granted. I already know that it's been taken for granted for at least 500 years. And on top of
I
that,
think
the
much more.
current, excuse me, no, it hasn't. Don't try to borrow from the past what they've said about heliocentrism. Heliocentrism is only 500 years old. And the current
I
paradigm,
think you
the big bang.
the shape of
Let
the
me,
Earth.
I'm sorry. I can't communicate with you and you can't respond to me in a way that makes sense if you don't know what I'm telling you, right or wrong.
I'm sorry, I have interrupted you, and it's very toxic to do. I'm sorry. Go on.
That's okay. So I'm not talking about, because remember, we're not even talking about the geometry of the earth. We're talking about heliocentrism, like I pointed out in the beginning. So it's only 500 years old. And then what's worse, the idea of the Big Bang and the expanding universe and multiple galaxies, that's only 100 years old. So that being said, it's not really that far back that people didn't question what they've taken for granted. And they did question it But we also have, like I said, writings of them saying, I dare not challenge academia. So you're saying, I don't know why well, I mean, that's just what it is. Why it is, I don't really know. Can't really divine, people's thoughts, especially the ones in the power, with the power to ask these kinds of questions. We kind of just go with what the authorities tell us on, what we're learning, the literature that we read, et cetera, et cetera. There are some heretics, but we all know what happens to heretics in society. So let's not act like we don't.
Okay.
In other words, the way I would succinctly put it, what Elias said is fine. He said it correctly. I'm just uh, adding this. The problem is one of two things. Excuse me, two things. Number one, of course, it is the opinion, especially of a member of academia, to commend themselves as actually being critically considerate and never being guilty of bigotry or neglect or incompetency. Of course, we can expect that opinion to be expressed about academia, especially from academicians. And secondly, what you take for granted, including this cosmological paradigm, is what we are scrutinizing. But every time we make the attempt to begin the procedure of scrutiny, you just reiterate that you believe it and that you trust them and that they are trustworthy.
Yes, I do, because if you scrutinize something to which I cannot answer or counter argument anything, it would be somewhat of would just make you lose your time, which I wouldn't really like. And so if the scrutiny is made to people able to answer any, like also methodologically, for example, and say, no, this is, for example, this is something that you've done wrong, not necessarily in what you're looking at, but in the way you're looking at it.
Can I ask a
And
question?
that would be absolutely, yeah. I would like just to finish a point about the thing of academia. And this is, again, not being my field. I cannot actually say how they're feeling about this, but I imagine that the reason why this is something that is taken for granted, and that the scrutiny doesn't, the scrutinizing on this particular topic doesn't happen in academia anymore, for physicists would be like for mathematicians scrutinizing additions when they're doing something much more complex right now on the fringe of their particular disciplines. So I'm not saying this is necessarily how it is, but I guess that's how they feel. The shape of the Earth is given for granted because the calculation that have been done previously uh,
You see,
have
you're
not.
doing it again.
Who
You
did
see,
it
you're
that
doing it
calculation?
again.
Who
Yeah,
did
Hang
that
on, hang on, hang on,
calculation?
hang on, hang on, hang on, hang on. You see, you're doing it again.
yes,
Like you're
I'm
telling
doing
me
that
once
again.
again, you're telling me once again that they believe that they know so much and know so well. Where you can hear us sitting here trying to get into the thick of it and scrutinize their position, the substance of their position. But you just want to keep reiterating that they believe their position and that they supposedly know so much and know so well. Now, of course, that is not the way that you gain knowledge. You should know better than that as an academician, right?
I know better as an academician, because and the reason that I'm telling you that what you're doing is wrong, not the fact that you scrutinize it, not that. I'm absolute. I love this kind of debates. I'm absolute, and trust me, I don't want to sound ironic. I I I really think that this kind of behavior, that flat earther that you have, it's something extremely precious. Even if I don't believe in what
Extreme
you
what?
do,
I'm sorry, I missed that word.
extremely precious.
This
Oh,
is
Because
extremely
irrelevant.
precious.
This
Okay.
is
it's
this is
skepticism.
this is a this is a this is irrelevant. Um,
Okay,
and I hesitate to say it's irrelevant because what you take to be precious and maybe some sort of psychological and philosophical musing, we just understand as truth in what is. Um, so it is precious in that sense that the truth is precious, but you don't have any real way to communicate at this current time. I don't know why you can't just accept that and like kind of either ask us for more information since you don't have any, or kind of go on mute and let someone else maybe ask some questions, maybe sit down and listen to the back and forth that we may have. The worst thing for someone to do is to try to have a conversation they're not equipped to have.
The conversation that I'm having as part of the um, related to the mechanics of why the academia doesn't take your input,
Yeah,
for example.
we're not really, you're not really equipped to have that conversation. And second of all, it's
Why am I not?
inconsequential to whether or not the earth is flat. That's what this conversation is about. It's about whether the earth is flat or not. You don't have the tools to figure that out because you have a bias right now. I don't think it's unreasonable to say that. If you're an honest man, you say, yeah, that's true. We already agreed that my position is a position that's taken for granted. I don't really have anything to speak in the way of, the actual geometry of the earth. Therefore, you know what? You're right. Let me be humble. Let me put my pride aside. Maybe I can learn something from you guys. But if you guys aren't willing to talk about why academia isn't, and I'm not willing. I'm trying to nicely let you know, uh speculate as to why academia hasn't cracked this subject, then we're gonna have an issue. Like, you're gonna bump heads with people in the server, and you're not going to understand why that's happening because, again, you're very limited on information, and I'm trying to help you out.
I already said, I think 3 times that I do not have information about the shape of the Earth that I can share with you. I think I said the first time at the
Isn't that what I just said?
very beginning.
So,
That's what
so
he
I'm,
just said to you.
Yeah, I know, and the
so I'm
fact that
No,
trying to
no, no,
stop.
no.
I'm trying to
You
stop.
think you're refuting him.
I'm not
I'm trying to
refuting it.
stop.
I'm not refuting
I'm
anything.
trying to stop us from having a senseless row, a senseless back and forth that is unpleasant for the listeners. Because, again, you don't have sufficient information to have an interesting conversation about the subject that people are here to listen to. Like, I can't believe it takes 30 minutes to explain this. So I'm very apprehensive about, even, I mean, you're not even curious about what, why we think the earth is flat.
I'm extremely curious about that. Otherwise, I wouldn't be here.
So then why don't you ask about the geometry then?
First, because I've listened to a bit to
Okay,
the
so
flat
then
Earth argument.
we can't help you any further. That's what I mean, uh y-
The
I'm telling you what we're capable of and what we're not. So let me ask you a question. When you go to, what do you eat fast food?
no, typically not.
No. What's your favorite food?
Uh, I would say lasagna. I don't know.
Lasagna. Okay, so let's go with Italian. If you went to an
Well, I'm
Italian,
Italian.
excuse me?
I'm Italian, so yes.
Okay. So if you went to a Jamaican restaurant
Mhm.
asking for Italian food, could you see why that would be problematic?
I see how that would be problematic. I don't believe that that's what I'm doing here.
Well, I'm asking you to have a sufficient amount of information about the geometry or the predictions made from academia, mind you,
Mhm.
specifically from academia, the predictions about the geometry of the earth itself. And you said you weren't equipped. So you are in effect, asking me for lasagna that this Jamaican restaurant does not have.
Again, I don't believe that that's quite good metaphor, but before I'm interrupted, I just say this. If you want to stop this conversation, I'll gladly leave the floor.
You don't have
Buddy,
you don't have anything to add. I'm not trying to stop the conversation. I asked you a
I
number
think
of
I was
questions
adding the
over the course
conversation.
of why are you interrupting me? It's like
I'm
it keeps
interrupting you.
happening. I
I'm
didn't
interrupting
interrupt
you
you.
because I'm.
I didn't
Yes,
interrupt you though.
actually, you did many times, but I'm not.
Gregory, did I interrupt him?
In this particular instance, no.
In this particular
Okay.
instance, like I was
Okay,
interrupted.
maybe I interjected here and there, but I didn't interrupt a point that you think you don't have a point. You're asking questions that we're not willing to answer. That's what I'm
Yeah,
telling
I
you.
would.
It's almost like you're trying to force us to have a
Let's just stop
conversation
here. I
that
will leave
we're
the
not,
floor.
and
Don't
now
you
you're
worry.
talking
It's
while I'm
okay.
talking again, and it's
Yes,
crazy because
because
it makes it seem like it makes me feel like I'm doing something wrong. I was in the middle of a sentence and I hear you speaking while I'm speaking over 5, 6, 7 seconds. And that makes me feel like one of us is a madman for trying to speak at the same time.
Leon, buddy, let's cut to the chase, dude. You have a belief, okay? Do you think that you can know what the Earth is, or can you only blindly believe it because other people told you?
Yeah.
if I can make observation by myself to know that, right at this moment, no, I can't. And this
Do
is
you think
why.
it's possible to know what the Earth is, or are we
Yes,
only going to be
absolutely.
able to blindly? Okay, but right now you just have a blind belief because other people told you.
I wouldn't say blind, but yes, but I'm trustworthy of the work of the
Okay.
professionals.
So wouldn't you want to do? Doesn't that mean you need to do further investigation so you can get to where you actually know what it is?
Right at this moment, no, nope. But I hope that I will be able to read enough of it to then make observation by my own. Yes.
Okay, so to get to the point of knowledge as opposed to belief, you're going to have to do some investigation. Eli's telling you, as opposed to speculating why it is that academia still holds some archaic, weirdo belief that the Earth defies physics, right? How about we just get to the let's see what the evidence says the Earth is provably?
Which is what I said to you at least 3 times before Austin just said that to you.
And since, as I told you right at the beginning, that I am not able to uphold this conversation, I'm just saying to you again, I will gladly leave the floor to who is willing to do that.
Well, that's what I
I
was
mean,
telling you, and
so why?
you kept
But the
pushing
thing
back.
is, why didn't
Like
you just stop talking, or why
that's what
didn't
I was.
you just voluntarily discontinue talking and say let someone else go, rather than just reiterating over and over again that you don't know, but you do believe them and you trust them and they are trustworthy?
Yeah,
Because I was
I gave.
answering to a number of arguments about academia and about methodology that didn't actually have precisely to do with the shape of the Earth, and I was trying to answer to that. But
Gregory,
since
go
since
ahead.
we
Sorry.
since we are aiming right now to the exact shape of the Earth, I will gladly shut up about it.
Gregory, did I or did I not for 30 minutes try to give him an out by saying, hey, this is what we're prepared to talk about. So if you're not prepared to talk about that, then maybe we can speak to someone else. Did I not do that? Did he not have 30 minutes to accept me saying that rather
You
than
said that.
continuously respond?
You said that.
Oh, okay. I thought I did. I'm being reasonable. I'm being uh courteous to
Amicable.
you. I may not have a tone that you like, but I'm also not being disrespectful to you. And I mean, well, I guess we got there in the end. So, you know, put yourself on mute. And if you can think of an answer or a question that has to do with the shape of the earth, man, you're free to open your mic. if we happen to talk about cosmology and you hear something that sounds familiar to you, you can pipe up about that as well.
I want to point out that not only do you openly admit it's just a belief and that you don't actually know, and that it's possible to know, but that you've chosen willfully to remain in the ignorant position of belief. It's actually a blind belief because although you're appealing to the idea of academia, almost assuredly you don't really know what the model is. So if you have a belief but you don't know exactly what that belief is, that's a blind belief. You know, you're like, I don't even need to know exactly what it is. They did my thinking for me. I blindly hand my thinking over to an unidentified, vague group of people, and I blindly believe whatever they decided. So it's a blind belief. Well, we're over here talking about how we know, and you have a blind belief. So if you choose to pursue knowledge, we'll happily discuss the specifics with you.
But the thing is with me, in tandem with that point, I mean, doesn't especially you being in Italy, I think I'm wrong, but the University of Bologna is in Italy, or I'm wrong. But the University of Bologna, for instance, the oldest university on the face of the earth, the institution as we recognize as the university nowadays, I really want to believe, this is what I want to believe, that academia, from the most oldest institutions to the youngest, do not have this habit of just believing credulously without even inquiring as to why they believe this or that group or person within this department, within this area of knowledge. I mean, surely that is not how you establish your beliefs to be true, especially in academia. Well, my belief is true because I believe those persons, like Austin just said, that are unspecified, unidentified, never met them, that I believe they know what they suppose they know. I mean, doesn't academia do better than that?
Can I try to answer that?
Yeah, man.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, I believe that in a certain way that's exactly what happens. In the sense that.
Wait, hang on. Does academia do that? What I just asked, or is there a better standard than that? Don't they do better than that? Yes or no?
I don't believe they do better than that. If
They
in the
don't
way
do
that
better
you
than
phrase,
that.
in the way that you phrase that sentence, I believe that's quite exactly what happens normally, and not only in academia, but in general. You trust the experts in many ways.
I'm sorry. What university do you go to?
I'm a PhD student in Sapienza University of Rome.
You're studying for your PhD at where?
Rome.
Rome.
Sapienza.
Rome.
Sapienza.
The University of Rome.
Sapienza University of Rome. Yes, it's the first university of
Oh
Rome.
my God.
Yikes.
Oh my God.
Brother, dude, do you agree that you need to know what it is
Wait
that
a
you
minute.
believe?
Wait.
I can't.
I'm sorry. Wait, let
hear
me also
everybody.
get my woes in. I'm sorry.
Mm-hmm.
Which was totally.
I want to say only one sentence or two, if I can.
Good. You may as well, Sasha. I rudely stepped in there as well. So.
Leon, did you say experts?
Yes. I mean, I
Okay,
said
good.
experts.
Yeah, good. You mentioned. I don't want to go out from the argument, but I want to know what you think. Do you believe in gravity?
I do believe in gravity. Yes.
Do you know what is gravity?
It's a constant.
Wait.
Gravitation
Now,
constant.
now,
It's
okay.
the
Now,
effect
wait.
of
Now,
mass.
wait. Now, wait.
Yeah.
Because that was because of experts. Now I will tell you something. I asked you, are you expert? Are you expert?
Not in physics.
Okay, because you started to tell me what is gravity. But do you know what experts saying when we ask them what is gravity?
No, I
The
don't.
PhD, I will tell you, the PhD in astrophysics saying this when the same question is what is gravity? Do you know what he's saying? He's saying I don't know. Next question.
Correct.
So
That's what I'm saying. You don't actually believe it. What you actually have is like a dumbed down layman belief. They tell the people. You're appealing to a group of experts that actually claim stuff like we don't know what gravity is, and all evidence shows the Earth could be stationary in the center of the universe, and we can never prove otherwise. So that's what I'm saying. Your detriment is that you don't actually know what you believe. You just kind of have an assumption.
Did you get me? That expert, the most famous astrophysicist in the world, saying that he doesn't know what is gravity and saying next question. And you didn't do that.
who is
And
the
you didn't.
most expert?
Neil deGrasse Tyson.
I really doubt that Neil deGrasse Tyson is the most expert. He's a great. I mean, he's a great narrator,
well,
and
there's
he's a
that.
physicist. But I don't believe he's recognized as the most expert, and I wouldn't believe that he was.
Well, he majored in physics at Harvard University, and then he went and got his degrees afterwards and specified in astronomy.
Yes, and so.
And he's not expert.
Okay, then he got a master in astronomy, and he's one of the most famous. Every single quote unquote expert says that they don't know what gravity is. In 2023, we don't know what gravity is, and that's why there's over 300 different proposed modified gravity theories to replace the old version of relativity. Every expert knows that the evidence has shown us that our old theory, quote unquote theory, of gravity doesn't work, and no one knows what it is.
Okay,
That's super funny because
I
people will
understand.
say, well, Neil deGrasse Tyson with his accolades isn't an expert, but Professor Dave with not professor credentials will actually be an expert.
Yeah, this dude literally got his degree in physics from Harvard and then got a master's in astronomy, and they're like, nah, this dude doesn't count.
I'm curious. I'm very curious.
I
Even with
didn't
that
say
being
that he
said,
doesn't count.
Leon, even with that being said, let's take that for granted. Neil deGrasse Tyson, he's nowhere up there near the elite. Who would you say is an elite physicist, especially cosmologist?
And then link us a paper while you're at it.
Why would I link you
That's
to
a good
that I
question.
don't even read?
This is a good question. Answer this question, please. It's a good question. Who would you say is an expert?
That is an expert right now. Okay, there is one. I can't really remember the name, but I've heard of him a lot. I'm sorry, with names, I'm very, very, very bad. Even
Brian
in my field.
Cox. Brian Cox.
Oh, Brian Cox. I know him. I don't know what is his state in the art.
You recognize him, or you know him in person?
Wait, let's
Yeah, and I
wait.
know him.
Wait.
I listen to him.
Okay, you recognize him. Okay.
I'm more curious about. We could probably go with Brian Cox, but I am interested in you figuring out who you're talking about so that we can get his ideas.
I want a name, at least one name. Who is an elite physicist?
Like, let's get it.
Why
Why would you not want to give me a paper? What kind of shit is that?
A paper of what?
You don't even know who you're appealing to, dude. We're saying you said experts. We're asking you who they are.
Hold on. So we're talking about one of the most believed in phenomenons.
Yeah.
And all I asked you was for a paper, and you're telling me there wouldn't be literature from this person who's supposedly an expert that can link us to why he thinks what he thinks. That's an unreasonable request to you?
I don't think that I
Is it
said
an
that.
unreasonable request? Yes or no? To ask for some literature backing the person that you're about to name, if you can remember his name. Is that unreasonable?
No, it's not unreasonable. I'm just saying that I can't tell you.
Okay, so there's that. So you don't have a name to give us right now. You don't have a paper to give us.
I understand what you're saying. Yes, like I told you before, they're not concerned with whether or not the earth is flat. Now, they have spoken ad infinitum about whether the earth is moving or not. That's something they've spoken about. That's what's about to give you papers to. They've spoken about different kinds of uh heliocentric models. There's like 300. So like I said, within the paradigm, they have many questions, but they haven't questioned whether or not the earth is actually flat. They just kind of taken for granted that it's not, and then they've moved on. There is no information about, well, I've tested this and that and the third. All of that is just new rhetoric that people have come up with on YouTube. I'm not concerned with that.
Uh, I want to add something. Leon, what is the name
Yeah,
of this server?
it's Flood Earth this 24/7.
And you spoke mostly with Elijah tonight.
No, not really. I've
Yeah,
spoken
yeah,
also
you
with
spoke
other
with you.
people.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. Why
That
these
right now,
people? Okay. Why,
tonight, I spoke with Elijah.
okay. Okay. Do you know why these people open this server and why they think that Earth is not a globe?
Well, we're not in
Because
academia, so
Uh,
he just wants to know why they haven't questioned it. He doesn't care about
yeah,
why we questioned it.
no,
yeah. Okay. Okay. Okay.
I've
Do you know
listened
why?
to. I'm going to answer you,
Okay.
but please, thank you. I know that I've listened to the live stream for a couple of days,
Oh, okay.
and
So why do we think the
also
Earth is flat?
you think the Earth is first. One of the first point that is always brought up is the lack of perception of the curvature.
The lack
Both
of perception or the lack of no, that's incorrect actually. How much did you really listen?
look, I know that I can use words that are that are not right. I know that
No,
I can
words
be
are
wrong in.
important. We have
Let
to.
me finish. Let me finish, please. That I know that I can
But
say things
I don't want
wrong,
your
but
justification for why you're having a language
I'm just
issue.
saying that
I just
if
asked
you
you
don't
why do
believe,
we think. I just asked you a simple question.
and I was answering you.
If you've been listening to the server for 2 days, and I ask you why do we say that the Earth is flat, and you give an answer that I know we didn't give, don't you think that'd be a problem? It's not a language problem. It's an
Okay, well,
understanding problem.
so you don't telling you that you don't see curvature is wrong.
That's not why we say it's flat, bro.
I
That's
know
what I'm
that I'm
telling
not.
you.
And
It's not.
my
It's not about.
what
It's
is
not about seeing. It's not about seeing. I'm only
Um,
helping.
what I said when I began answering is that one of the first points that is always brought up in conversation here on the server and also
okay,
in
all
other
right. You know what?
places.
Be specific about this observation thing. Be very specific now, because I want to give you an opportunity to express what you mean. So when you say it doesn't look flat, what argument did we give that you listened to and understood about it looking like there's no curvature? Be very specific.
First, the horizon being horizontal. Second, and
The
then
horizon
comes
being
to the
horizontal. Wait a minute. You can find that in any textbook and in any dictionary. That's not a point of contention.
curvature not being seen from altitude, and then the fact that
No.
the use of
No.
different zoom.
No.
I see. Okay, so you kind of don't understand why you can't contextualize why we say the earth is flat. I'm just being honest. Based on what
Okay,
I'm hearing you say right now, you don't understand why we say the earth is flat.
why you say that the Earth is flat? And no,
Now we're
strike
getting
that,
somewhere.
strike that
No.
question.
Oh
No.
shit. He
Now we
took it
will
away.
answer.
He almost
Can you?
asked us why we think the earth is flat. He took it
No,
back.
no, no. No,
Golly.
let me
No.
finish, please. I said
You are.
strike back because before answering that question, which is very general and can drive you in a very long list of arguments, I wanted to ask you first what I said wrong about that particular thing, because I don't want to say wrong thing. So if you tell me
Okay,
I'm wrong,
is
I want first
geometry
to know that.
about just looking at stuff?
I'm sorry.
Is geometry just about looking at stuff?
No, geometry is about doing calculations and measurements.
Right, measurements. Yes, we got
Okay.
there in the end. Now, here's the thing. What was my first question to you?
Oh, please don't ask me that. I don't remember.
Okay. What do you know as it relates to the geometry of the Earth?
Mhm.
Which means I was expecting to have a conversation about measurements, not looking at stuff. Wouldn't that make sense?
Yeah, I guess.
Okay. So we're not in here just talking about how stuff looks like it's flat. It's obviously more detailed than that. Especially
I'm
because
sorry. I'm sorry
I
again,
was
but I
asking you to.
have never
Okay, go ahead.
said. I've never said that it was just looking. I just said it was the first things that generally come up in a conversation is the lack
N-
of perception. But
No,
then
people
obviously,
people think that when we're talking about the geometry, it's just lack of perception. That's why I was asking you to clarify that point
yeah, okay,
because I was
okay,
asking
but
you to be fully detailed about what you meant, and you weren't able to include the things that we say when we're looking out, like for example, to the horizon, which means you had no kind of conception as to how it relates geometrically because you didn't mention it, which means you don't understand what we were saying when we mentioned it. You just thought we were saying it looks
the
flat.
calculation, the measurement of the dip and of the drop that is expected related to the distance from the observer, isn't that pertain to geometry?
Okay,
Which
we're
geometry?
getting somewhere.
Okay,
Buddy, I
and
better
what
not be
I'm
dropping all these papers for you. I'm just jumping in real fast. I better not be dropping all these papers and quotes in here for no reason, bro. I'm gonna need you to go before you leave. Download these
All right,
PDFs.
let's get back to that. Go on ahead,
no,
because
I'm not
No, you're
one.
good. I have to get in the car anyway. I'm just saying, look, I
No,
went to my computer and I got you 4 PDFs. I got you many citations. I'm going to drop my link to my presentation called Geocentrism, which is like literally 3 hours of the quotes. Okay? So it'd be really cool if you didn't just waste my time. I'm not saying you're going to. I'm just saying there they are.
no, I really appreciate the fact that you have shared these things with me. I'm really interested. I'm absolutely true.
would you share them with your professors at Rome?
I wouldn't know how they would be interested, but yes, I could.
Oh, wait. So what do you think academia is for? Do you think it's about the advancement of information and truth, or do you think it's just about like what? Why
Mm,
wouldn't they be interested? I mean, because if what Whitson is saying is true, wouldn't you think that was something interesting and that your professors should be informing you of this stuff?
They might be interested personally. They wouldn't be interested academically because that's not their
Oh,
fields of
because
work.
like I told you, in academia, they're only focused on what they want the curriculum to be versus what truth is and where that follows and where that
We
takes
are
you.
in we are in a humanities department. We don't do hard science.
You
I
don't
mean,
have like astrophysicists physicist friends.
yes, of course I have, but it's
So
not
that's
in
who
my
I'm
department.
asking about. I'm not asking for your humanities department. Like, what do you do?
You asked
Hello.
you told me about my professors, and my professors are
No,
in
I
the
said your
humanities department.
friends. You don't have any friends in other departments other than the one you work in or the one that you go to school in. Like what? Like
I have 2 physicist friends in the department of
that
physics.
would be who I'm talking about.
Okay, I will
Like,
share with them
obviously, if
gladly.
we give you information that might kind of trouble you because you've taken one thing for granted, right? So, if it did trouble you specifically because it's new information that contradicts what you previously learned, would you not take it to those professors?
Yeah, of course. Although it would be quite awkward, I think. But I think that I would share them with my friends.
Okay, you should do that. You should actually first just look at them yourself. Because the question you should
Which
have
I
is,
can't.
Why did some random dude on the internet who thinks the Earth is flat have to give me these high level papers and show me what the experts actually say? You should wonder why it is you haven't heard that before. Why did I have to
I'm
tell you about
wondering
it?
about this even before reading them.
Okay, I'm just saying you understand what the point here is. All these quotes are explaining that based on all observations in astronomy and astrophysics throughout the entire history of the subjects, they all show that the Earth is in the center. And we had to come up with a new theory to explain why it's just an illusion that the Earth is stationary and in the center. And then the modern version of gravity that is typically accepted, although now being thrown away, says, yeah, it's just like the Earth's in the center, and you're never going to be able to measure, prove, or detect that it's moving. It's all just an illusion that the Earth's in the center of the universe. And these are the top level, most famous physicists of history. Don't you find it weird that that part was omitted from your curriculum?
It wasn't omitted in my curriculum in the sense that my curriculum it isn't involved with physics at all, at least in university. If it's talking about in high school, yes, it quite troubled me that it was not included.
Sure, yeah, sure. Wherever you were taught about physics.
Well, that's
Yeah,
that's 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 kind of my question. Because well, actually, Witsit already touched on it. You have a vague understand of a vague belief, right? Wait, who's that in the background? Sasha.
Is that
Sasha.
Biggie coming through someone else's mic?
Yeah. Sasha, get your followers off mute. Anyway, go check out Miggy's channel, which is go grow follow bro if you'd like to. Anyway, I'm sorry. Now's not the time to advertise. So the thing is,
huh?
you came in here, right? And I did hear you inquiring about why academia wouldn't have questioned the flat earth, but you're not even in that department. You don't even have I don't know if you have conversations with them or not, but you don't even know whether they're talking about it or not.
And this is the bigger point. This is bigger. Just trust me, brother. This is the bigger point. This isn't actually about flat Earth. This is just about the Earth in the center. The point that we're trying to make to you is, look, you appeal to the idea of experts. Turns out you don't even know what they say. They actually say the Earth could be in the center and stationary. Is it possible that you may be misinformed about the nature of the Earth in other ways as well, such as the fact that it's a stationary plane and it's not a tilted, wobbling, spinning ball in a vacuum? Like, isn't it possible? Didn't we just demonstrate it's very possible you may be misinformed about the nature of the Earth?
I think that yes, I think that's possible because possibilities are quite a wide range of things. Yes.
Yeah, we just demonstrated that you are, in fact, ignorant about the nature of the Earth, even within the mainstream model. So now maybe you step back and be like, look, maybe this sounds crazy, but I have to realize I'm not particularly informed on it. I just kind of took it for granted. Like I took the solar system for granted and the ever expanding universe for granted because experts. And now I should look at the information myself, figure out what the evidence says, and then go from there so you can move towards knowing instead of just believing. Right?
Yes, absolutely. In sense, I will absolutely read those all the stuff that you shared me. Thanks again.
Yeah.
And I hope to get back. I mean, in the server, not necessarily in the live stream, and discuss what I read because I would be amazed about the contents about those papers, and I really hope that we can discuss together further.
Please let me
Okay,
tell
Yeah,
yeah.
you
just do
this.
some research, man. Some research.
Please
And
let me
that's
tell you this.
again, that's not even about flat Earth, by the way. You need to like listen to some people in here and see, well, what evidence is it that you guys have for flat Earth, and try and like kind of learn about that as well. You should just like wipe the slate clean and be like, I'm gonna suspend belief and I'm gonna try to figure out what I can know because belief is the enemy of knowledge.
Well, that's
Yeah, I
epistemologically
agree
erroneous,
with that.
Austin, but we'll talk about it in a moment.
I
Leon,
know, I know. So, yeah.
Leon, um, please come back, and please at least, if you don't come back to this server, stay in contact with me. Hit me up in my DMs because I don't talk to people in Rome at all very often, let alone someone who is on their verge to becoming a doctor in whatever in the University of Rome. So please stay in touch.
Oh, with pleasure.
You're trying to have a ontological war with me, Gregory? You got to meet people where they are, man. Don't make it weird.
Our battle will be legendary.
Talk
Hey,
about
did he?
talk
End up?
about talk about
Sorry.
a cult, huh? Like, imagine he really wasn't prepared, like, for this conversation, and it's like, I don't even know what the Roman Empire would do to him if he was to ask questions. Like,
Oh my goodness. Oh my God.
Hey, Elijah,
The
did you
Roman
actually
Empire.
get him in the end to ask
Imagine being in that
why we
country.
believe the Earth is flat?
oh, sorry,
Sorry, you're a little low.
Who
yeah,
is that?
Oh, sorry. I'll shut up,
I think I
man.
stepped on
It's all
someone's
right.
toes. I'm sorry.
no,
No,
well,
you're
you're
right.
muffled, but we can hear you.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask, did you end up getting him to ask why we believe the Earth is flat?
Almost,
He
but then he
never asked the
reneged.
question.
He literally reneged and said, "Never mind."
Fucking hell.
Yeah, is it
Reneged.
too
I gotta
soon
add
to
that to
is
my
it too soon
repertoire.
to
You
bring
said
up?
reneged.
Is it too soon to bring up that his ancestors killed the Messiah? Is it too early?
No,
I'm still
it's been
here if you
2,000
want to.
years. You can mention that now. But I'm really fascinated about this. You know, I don't live in this country. I don't live in that country. Is the wrong word. I don't live in that country. So it's really
So wait,
fascinating to me to live in
Rome
the
had the
country that
same
is the
culture,
heartland of the Roman Empire.
I bet it's kind of cool in a way. Right?
You think
Isn't
we
Rome its own
Grandparents are
country?
horrible, if I have to say.
you think we would get Hillary Clinton over there? Like, how long would I think they'd give me like 6 months tops?
You know, it's like living in Nineveh. You know, with the Assyrians or
So not very
Babylon
cool.
itself.
So it's not cool in a way. Then you're like, yo, dude, I can't save these people, man. Come on.
What is your profession? See, old friend, I brought more soldiers than you did.